Okay, hi there, Art One. We're going to do another video session covering some learning. That way we can accomplish more in the class. So today we're going to be going over painting vocabulary. So in your sketchbook notes, I'd like you to title the top of your page, Painting Vocabulary. The reason why we're going over this vocabulary is we've already been utilizing some of it in class. So I want to make sure you have the definitions. That way you can fill them in on your final. But also I want to give you some more tools in order to be able to describe your work and the work of others. So we're going to go over the painting vocabulary. I'd like you to utilize it when describing your pastel pieces that we're going to be constructing. And also, like I mentioned, it's going to come into play again on your finals, so make sure you take good notes. So painting vocabulary, the first term that I'd like you to enter your notes is plein air. Obviously, that's spelled differently. It's because it's French. So what plein air is it's a term for when the artist paints outdoors. So what that means is they're not only painting an outdoor landscape or an outdoor scene, but they're also painting it on site. They are not in a studio. They're on location. They're looking at everything. They're painting it outdoors. They're on site rather than in a studio. The next term is alla prima, and that's an Italian term. So alla prima means that you're painting directly onto the canvas. So what that implies is that you are applying colors and mixing on the canvas, which is kind of what we're doing with oil pastels. So the technique is called alla prima. So rather than take your paints ahead of time and squeeze them onto your palette and mix it and create the color on the palette, you're applying those singular paints onto the composition, the painting, and you're mixing them and painting it directly on site rather than mixing ahead of time off to the side. Does that make sense? Hopefully. So alla prima is painting directly onto the canvas. Impasto. Impasto is another one of our Italian terms. Think pasta. What it is, it's the thick application of paint. So you can see by my visual examples, these are all Van Gogh. Van Gogh is really known for an impasto technique where he applies thick layers of paint where you can see the globs of the paint, the strokes, the movement. Again, we're striving for creating a technique with our oil pastels that kind of mimics this impasto. It's difficult to do with oil pastels. It's easier to do with oil paints and acrylic paints, more of a paint base. But again, with our pastel projects, we want to see the movement, the strokes, the application of your medium. So impasto is the thick application of paint. Optical blending, again, this is a term that we've been using a lot when we are talking about different techniques in class, particularly when we covered pointillism. So I want to make sure that it's in your sketchbook notes, and it's a really important thing to understand about art. So optical blending is allowing the human eye to blend adjacent colors. So you have individual colors, for example, red and blue right next to each other. When we pull away, our eye is able to blend them together to make violet. What you also need to know is depending on how you place those colors, you have color context happening. So colors can be modified based on their surroundings. That has to deal with optical blending. So with this example, if you were to look up close to this Renoir, you would see individual globs of color, but as we pull away, we're able to see this whole scene, the variations in tint, tone, and shade, the different hues. It happens because we are allowing optical blending to occur. So optical blending doesn't occur when we're very close to a composition. We have to be about 3 to 4 feet away to allow our eye to take the individual parts and mix them to create those new colors. All right, just how pixels work. Optical blending. Pointillism is painting with tiny dots. That should already be in your sketchbook notes, but just make sure that you understand that that term, pointillism, the technique, is painting with individual tiny dots. Pointillism relies entirely on optical blending to occur. So here we see, this is a self-portrait of Van Gogh in a room. We can kind of see it looks really almost pixelated, you know, like the term that we use for technology nowadays. But again, if we were to pull back further, then it would have more optical blending. Things would be a lot smoother, but we're able to make out the scene. Same thing with the Georges Seurat. We can see that this is a picture of a man, but we have those individual color globs, those tiny little dots. If we were to pull away, that optical blending would occur and the scene would be a lot crisper, but we can make out what the form is. Trompe-l'oeil is a technique that artists use. It's a way to describe a work. It's so realistic that it fools the eye. It's so photorealistic that we aren't able to tell whether it's real or fake. So here we have this great painting. This is by P.B. Picasso in 1874, and he was able to paint so realistically that it fools the eye into thinking that this boy is actually emerging from the scene, the composition. So trompe-l'oeil is a technique for painting so photorealistically that it fools your eye. Okay, so this is a big one, representational. When items are representational or works, it means that they're based on reality. They're painted to look like real world, okay? So the sky is blue, the grass is green, the colors are an actual match. Things are painted to represent reality. That is representational, all right? In contrast, the term non-representational, non meaning not, colors are painted in a way that it's not based on reality. So it's more kind of surreal, it's more like an artistic interpretation. So that means that you can get away with having the sky blue, having blue skin, green sky, purple, apples, you know, it's non-representational. So this is a great example of a non-representational scene. We can still tell that this is nature, there's some people, there's some different kinds of trees, but again, it's not painted in a representational color palette. Okay, so non-representational can be both with the color choice, but it can also be the subject matter. Hard edge, this is a technique of painting or a style that is meaning that it's flat, lacking volume. It's got crisp edges. It's kind of like graphic art. If you like graphic t-shirts, they utilize a hard edge style. Photorealism, kind of playing off the idea of trompe-l'oeil. Again, you're painting in a technique that is so photorealistic, it looks like you snapped a photo, but really it's a painting or a piece of artistic work, whether it's made with graphite or colored pencil, or in these two examples, they're painted with oil paints on canvas. Look at how realistic that is. It looks like it's actually a girl with glass and moisture. This looks like you snapped a photo. The highlights, the textures, everything is so photorealistic. It's been painstakingly reproduced to accurately represent. It looks like a photograph. It imitates photography, hence the word photo and realism. So real, it's photo, representational, it looks so accurate. Okay, last but not least, you should already have this term, but this is a big one that we've been using to describe our process and our products when we're working with pastels. And also, if you were to move on to painting and art too, a painterly technique is where you paint so that the brush strokes are visible. It's not painted smoothly. So again, I've been emphasizing with you guys when you're working in class not to overblend your pastels. We want to see the individual strokes, the texture, the movement, how the different colors kind of warp and move throughout the composition. In very stark contrast to the way I taught you to do graphite, here I want to see the way the magic trick is happening. I want to see your artist's hand, as it's referred to. So here I'm going to show you two works, and in class we're going to talk about what terms can best be applied that we've gone over. So here's the first one. Think about what vocabulary terms that we just went over can be applied to this work and why. Again, there's not usually a right or wrong answer when you're discussing art. There's personal opinion that you can back with evidence. But again, it's not like math where there's a correct or incorrect answer. Okay, it's a lot depending on the viewer's perspective. So here's the first one, and here's the second. I also want you to think about with these two works how color psychology is being used as a tool for you, the viewer. How do these two works make you feel based on the use of color, the use of line, angles, shape? How do they make you feel? All right, and we're going to be discussing them in class to kind of reiterate this learning that we're doing outside of class. Thanks for watching this video, guys, and taking notes in your sketchbook. Again, if I went too fast, please make sure that you re-watch portions of the video. Don't forget, you can pause me and you can break this video up into chunks so that it's easier to tackle within your personal schedule. Have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next class time.